Good morning. It is a wonderful, chill spring morning. It's only about 50 degrees, feels great. And I want to talk about some important and heavy stuff today, but I'm also in a good mood. I have my picnic event coming up this Saturday. I'm going to be seeing a bunch of you there. And my picnic event does tie in a little bit to what I want to talk about today. But we're going to start off by looking at these beautiful flowers here and this little road of wealthy people houses on the way to the country club here. All right. And also, absolutely beautiful cloud cover this morning. It's between 8 and 9 a.m. as I am recording this, and it is just lovely. The sun's been up a while, but it's not so bright I need my glasses yet, and you can see the God rays over there coming through the clouds. Absolutely beautiful. And of course, it casts a beautiful dawn light over here on my beautiful Appalachian Shire. So I look forward to seeing you guys this weekend. If any of you want to come and still need directions, I think I've gotten everybody already, but if any of you are seeing this and still want to come and don't have directions, get in touch with me via email, PM, etc., etc. Follow me on social media, contact me there, and let me know. So I'm going to put my glasses down for just a bit here. What I want to talk about today is something serious and heavy, but I'm not in a bad mood and I'm not depressed today. But I do want to talk about defeating depression, finding fulfillment, changing your life for the positive, even when you feel like there's no point or it's hopeless to do so. That's the state that I believe a lot of us find ourselves in. Whether you're 18 years old listening to this or 48 years old listening to this, if you have found my channel, it's because you realize there are things that are very wrong with everything in our culture. And you're looking for answers, you're looking to see that you're not alone. That's why you found me. And I have struggled with this for many, many, many years. You guys know that I'm intersex and I've had gender and sex issues and that plagued a lot of my life. I've made bad decisions that led me to degeneracy and being connected to awful people. That didn't help. But culture itself, law, governance, media, the horrible, evil zeitgeist that pushes this fake pseudo-reality on us, this is a very ugly, depressing, hollow thing to grow up in and to feel like you are a part of. Like, I know that if you're young, you probably don't remember, but I'm in my 40s, and I remember even in the 80s when I was little, there was already, like, being an American patriot was already kind of a joke. Like, there was already a lot of, like, media, comedian, comic book, sort of snarky Gen X style, well, let's just take the piss out of everything. And in a big way, comedy of the era was already reflecting that in the 70s and 80s. So there was already this sort of cultural disconnect going back 50 years ago. So I don't want to talk about the big stuff and how to change or fix any of that, because I talk about that kind of stuff a lot. For my morning walks, I like to take a more sort of peaceful, personal approach to the challenges that we face, because if you're listening to my morning walk videos, not only do you think things like this are important, but you also want them to feel real to you. You want to have some kind of positivity, something that makes you feel fulfilled and like you're really connected to things that matter. We talk about that a lot on my channel. And so, how have I sort of beaten this malaise and this depression? Well, let's talk about what I'm talking about first. Let's talk about the problem. Don't want to get out of bed? Well, in the long ago, they used to say, well, if you don't feel like even getting out of bed, then you're depressed. Well, why don't you want to get out of bed? Maybe you feel like, well, what's the point today? What's the point of me going to my menial job to throw away 8 to 10 hours of my day just so I can come away from it frustrated and tired and barely have earned enough to keep the lights on and to perpetuate this cycle, so I have to go to bed upset and tired and then go to work just to do it all over again? That's the life of a regular person, a peasant, a pleb, an indentured servant, a slave to a system. We basically all live that way, and we have for generations. It's very depressing. It's very ugly when you think about it. Well, why else would you not want to get out of bed? What else could make you not want to even move or get up or care? Well, a lot of us feel lonely, don't we? We feel like we don't have any friends. We don't have any loved ones. We don't have a wife or a husband. Nobody wants us. We feel that too sometimes. A big thing that I contended with was pointlessness. Now, I know we mentioned about the not wanting to go to your meaningless job thing, but a more painful type of pointlessness of no matter what I do today, no matter what I do tomorrow, this evil regime, this broken culture, this evil empire, or if you're religious, maybe, this is satanic end of time stuff. There's a lot of cultural reasons why even if you have the desire or the mindset to want to achieve, you feel like you can't achieve, so what's the point? I've felt all of these things before, and I'm sure that all of you listening right now, you feel this quite a bit, especially when we have to deal with our loved ones, people in our lives, whether they be family members, co-workers, best friends, church mates. A lot of us feel this because the people that we have in our lives, had to cut out a noisy truck there it goes. A lot of us have people in our lives that maybe have been with us since we were children or have been in our lives ever since we were adults. And we have to be around these people. And they don't see or think the way we do. They're still in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, everything's gonna be okay 90s, right? And they just can't see or hear anything to the contrary. That hurts us and makes us feel alone and desperate and like things are pointless. So how do you overcome that? Because overcoming that and getting out of bed and taking the first step is sometimes the hardest thing to do. And so I want to talk about the steps that I have taken and that I think you can take to make your life better and prove to yourself that you can have a fulfilling life in this awful, broken, anti-us culture that we were born into. Let's start with yourself. I know that it's beaten into the ground at this point, but the whole Jordan Peterson clean your room thing. There is wisdom in that. You have to create for yourself a framework to live in. I know that might be hard. It's hard to have money and stability these days. But even still, we all have these little magical phone devices that do all kinds of make-believe Star Trek stuff. And you can set your own alarms. You can set a whole bunch of alarms all day long. I used to do this a lot until I got myself on a pretty regular schedule. Now I don't use them much anymore. But you can make yourself be on a schedule. That alone is you taking control and showing yourself that, hey, I can do things on a schedule. Even if it's something simple, like at the same time every day, you have an alarm set to remind you to go take a walk or to do a few minutes of exercises in the afternoon. To get up and stretch your legs and not just sit on your butt in your office chair all day. That's a start. That's something that you can do to take control of your life. Now, why do these little things matter? Why does waking up at the same time matter? Obviously, a healthy sleep schedule leads to you being healthy. We all know this. But it's more than that. It's showing yourself that, hey, I actually do have control over something in my life. I can make myself do a thing that I want to do or that I think needs to be done when I want it to be done, and I can make that a realization. That at least helps. Now let's talk about other things you can do to help. There are ways you can talk that are destructive to personal relationships or that are constructive to personal relationships. Good morning, roosters and chickens and horses and whatnot. I like this little farm. They have really built up this farmstead in the last couple years because this used to be almost nothing. And they have really, really made a nice place here. I'd like to get to know these people. I've only talked to them a few times, but they're always so busy. Anyway. Destructive and constructive ways to talk to people. I know that it's difficult to not just want to shout at everyone in your life and go all Alex Jones on them. I understand that. But you got to remember, most people of every era, everywhere, are kind of like sheep, and they need a shepherd. One of the lies of modernity and all of the last several hundreds years of democracy and liberalism and all this stuff, most men cannot be king and do not want to be king. They do not want to be the ultimate decider of everything in their lives. Most men do not want the procuring of food and shelter. Had to pause for another vehicle there. Most men do not want the responsibility of deciding everything about their and their loved one's fate to be solely on his shoulders. Most people just can't deal with that. And so, in this modern era, where this fake responsibility and fake onus of governance supposedly falls on the people, I think that this is detrimental to the well-being of the common man. Because we are not cut out for that. Almost none of us are cut out to be real leaders and bear the responsibility of the fate of our people on our shoulders. That's almost nobody. People don't want that. I barely want that, and I don't even know if I'm cut out for it. But here I am, speaking and trying to mentor and help guide our people to a better way of life. So maybe I do have that. Maybe I do feel a touch of that. But the point remains, destructive and constructive ways to talk to people. You can decide how you engage with others. And this was a hard thing for me because for years, I had issues with my loved ones because I kept trying to pull them down the pipeline with me. I wanted to grab everybody I knew, grab them by the head, make them look at the material that radicalized me, that made me break free of the pseudo-reality. And in doing that, I basically torched all the personal relationships I had and did irreparable damage to what pitiful friend group and family group network that I had. I've repaired a lot of that in the last 5 or 6 years, but I still lost a lot. So be constructive instead of destructive. Now let me tell you what I mean by that. Meet people on the ground that they're on and don't push them. Don't push them too hard. Speak your piece with gentle language. And when I say gentle language, I mean correct language. If you don't like a thing, just be calm and polite about it and be like, I don't watch that anymore. Now that I've realized just how anti-white or anti-Christian such and such is, I just don't like it anymore. And you don't have to go on a tirade. You don't have to try to link them videos and over-explain to them why you don't like a thing. Just state it and move on and continue being friendly and talking to that person like normal. Also, when it comes to being constructive instead of destructive with people in your life, you need to realize almost no one is going to enjoy being a radical dissident. I am one, and I don't enjoy it. It's not fun. Most people, if they see you being a wound tight, frazzled mess, they're going to look at you like an Alex Jones tinfoil hat weirdo, and they're not going to want to spend time with you. That's destructive. Constructively, be pleasant. Be nice and engaging with people that you have to deal with in your life. Even if it feels a little fake, you need to do it because you need to cultivate real human connection. And unfortunately, real human connection doesn't have much to do with politics and power mongering and elite theory and psyops and propaganda and psychological warfare. That's not something that the vast majority of people will ever even want to talk about, let alone enjoy talking about. So you need to compartmentalize all this dissident stuff that we know and save that for talking to other dissidents. And then the you that you are to people that aren't like that needs to be different. I know it might feel fake. I know it might feel like you're having to be two people, and you are. I have to be two people for that reason. But when I started doing that years ago, I started to get healthier. I realized that I needed personal communication, personal friendship, love, people to do stuff with that actually smiled at me and wanted to be around me instead of the opposite. So you need to cultivate that. Because if you become a dissident warrior for truth, right, you can alienate easily everyone in your life that makes your life worth living. Then you get to the point where I was, where I had nothing and no one in my life but impotent rage and dissident and being malcontent. And that led me to a lot of dark places. And it's not healthy. Knowing the stuff that we know is fine. But you still need to live a fulfilling, valuable life, not just for you, but for the people that depend on you. And you might not have anyone that depends on you. That's true. You might be old and lonely. You might be young and not have a life or a family put together yet. That's okay. But you still need to hear what I'm saying. We are creatures that are social, and we rank, we scale our well-being with people around us. That's just how we are. And going at life alone and alienating everyone around you is going to lead you to a dark place that you probably don't want to be in. I didn't like it. You probably wouldn't like it either. Maybe you're there now and you need out. I hope I can help you with that. Car coming. Okay, there it goes. So we talked about being constructive instead of destructive in relationships. Now, I could talk about the nuance of that for hours, so let's not. So the third and final thing I want to talk about before we wrap up today, I know that this has been long. I really need you guys to understand the difference between constructive building of personal networks for dissident purposes and constructive building of your personal life. These two things probably never go together. I have talked to personally now hundreds of dissidents across America. Every single one of them, with the exception of two that I can think of, completely separate all of their dissident talk, their activism, their organizing, their networking. Maybe they do phone calls and emails. Maybe they do local campaigning for localism or whatever. All of the people I talk to keep that entirely separate, except for a couple of cases, which are very rare. They keep that separated from their church, from their family, from their wife, their husband, their kids, because that's not the realm of personal fulfillment. That is a battlefield. You don't want your wife and your children and your best friends going out onto the battlefield until they have to. And I know many of you feel like they have to, but we're not there yet. Most people that are adults right now in 2024, they don't want to be at war. They're soft. They're comfortable. They're not going to want to think that the entirety of their future and economic stability depends on them engaging in this war. Most people are terrified of that and reject that subconsciously immediately. So, don't entertain that. Just don't. You have to build a healthy version of you. And so that's the final thing to talk about today. The healthy version of you needs to eat well, needs to exercise, needs to be constructive with your thoughts. No doom scrolling. Don't get into petty online dick measuring or arguing with idiots. Avoid all of that. It's a waste of your time and it makes you weak. You're wasting your life's time, energy, and thoughts on people that don't matter and hate you. Stop it. Don't engage with the mainstream media circus. Stop it. I highly recommend not using much social media. TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, Twitter and all this stuff. I use it because I'm an online personality. I have to collect and aggregate news, not just to find out what I can do to make it funny, but to find out what I think is important to talk about. That is a job. That's why I like getting paid to do it, because I don't want to do that. It's not healthy. It's not good. I don't enjoy it. So make your life different from engaging with that stuff. On the topic of making yourself healthier, I know that many of you listening to this may think that goes without saying, but several people I talk to, especially younger people, like younger than 30, they have real problems with even knowing how to live healthy, to be healthy. We talked about it in the beginning. Good sleep schedule. You also need to do things emotionally fulfilling. Every week or every month, set yourself a goal, something that you can change or do to personally improve yourself. It can be tiny. It can be really small. Say, okay, this month, let's say you really just love drinking sugary sodas or energy drinks, and you love them. You drink like 2 a day or something. You can say, okay, I'm going to drink 1 less of these a day this week or this month. And prove to yourself you can do that. Maybe make a little checklist. Do stuff that will show yourself you're making yourself healthier and taking control of your life. And I know at first, it's not going to change you. It's not going to take away your problems. It's not going to make you feel better. But trust me, If you do this kind of thing long enough, it does build confidence. It does make you a healthier, happier individual. And when you are a healthier, happier individual, you will be and attract higher quality people around you. You will be a higher quality person. And it's not just about your eating habits or your drinking habits. It's about other stuff too. Let's say that you're listening to me right now because you consume 10 or 12 hours of YouTube a day. That's probably too much. You should cut back on that. Even if you stop listening to me, you should cut back on that. You need to engage with people around you, yourself, whatever that may be. In a rare case, if you live in like a big city where everything around you is just dangerous and hates you, then maybe this advice is not for you. But, it's starting to rain. I'm going to have to wrap this up. Well, there's not even any leaves out yet, so I can't just walk under a tree. But I'm going to have to wrap this up now because the rain is really starting to fall. And I want to get back home here. But let's wrap this up by saying you need to take steps one at a time to improve yourself. And in doing so, you will fight the depression and the malaise by showing you that real life and real fulfillment is not, does not come from far away in big groups. It comes from what's immediately around me, from what I can do, from the few people's lives I can influence. That's where the positivity and the good stuff comes. That's where the healing comes from. So we'll wrap it up there. I will let you guys know next week how my picnic goes. I love you, and I will see you all then. God bless.